Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, Shotzzy's given his perspective on the Cloud9 massive server drama the most recent weekend, saying the CDL needs to step up and deliver when it comes to the state of these servers. The Denver and the Salt Lake City server are causing serious problems, it seems, so far in the CDL. Not at all good for teams based out in LA. Najot says, hey, maybe you guys should have come to Texas like the rest of us, that would have fixed it. But Shotzzy's perspective is, yeah, when given the option of the teams, obviously OpTic going to choose the server that benefits them, and it's not on the teams to solve the situation, it is on the league itself. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Definitely an interesting spot here on Hacienda, which was not available on the original map, it's got to be said. So, yeah, maybe feel free to abuse this one. It is kind of overpowered, I'm not going to lie. And of course, Hassi not in the official CDL map rotation yet, but that is coming relatively soon, as we all know. Luti from the Falcons, he's flying out there to Dallas for the start of the new season. Of course, he's been the head coach effectively for the Team Falcons roster over the last couple of seasons before they've become an official CDL team. Now he's still involved, but, you know, how's that dynamic going to be with Clay? I think it's interesting, isn't it, when Luti's obviously been coaching that team and helped them achieve some good success over the last couple of years. Now Clayster comes in, one of the best players to ever do it, never coached before, of course. I'm sure Clay has some things to learn from Luti in terms of coaching, how to work with these guys, stuff like that. But Clayster is going to be, you know, he's going to want to be considered the head coach, right, you'd imagine. So how do they manage that dynamic? I don't know. To be fair, at the subliners, they kind of did this when Daryl and Sender, they kind of like shared head coach responsibilities. So I don't know if it's going to cause any friction. At the end of the day, they've just got to make sure their team improves. An 0-2 start for Falcons, but maybe they played better than some people expected. These were the viewership numbers for the opening weekends. And, well, actually, they were better than this, and we'll see that in a second. So these were pretty good numbers, I would say, for the opening weekend here of Black Ops 6. FaZe versus Thieves at 160k that it peaked at. Boston OpTic 150k. This does include the co-streams, although these numbers actually don't include the Gataga co-streams, which is why the Gorillas game isn't as high up here. But actually, it's still fascinating. Minnesota versus Los Angeles Gorillas at 130k. And that didn't include, I believe, the Gataga stream, because Anthony says in the replies that, yeah, Gataga ended the stream after that game, and they had him run about 72k as round 11 started. So it should have been over 200k. And once they actually included that and put it together, the data came out as follows, with the two top games of the weekend on Esports charts here being Gentlemates games. And it's tough for the fans, right? Because there's a massive French fan base and a massive Gataga fan base watching his team play. Unfortunately, they're pretty bad right now, based on early evidence, and it doesn't look like it's going to get much better for them next weekend, because this week they had their easy games. They had Ravens and Rocker. They lost both of those matches. Next weekend they've got their hard games. I think they play Thieves and OpTic next weekend. So it's not an easy time for a Gentlemates fan. I'm sure their organisation will be successful in COD. It's probably only a matter of time, and it's, you know, not even fully Gentlemates yet, because unfortunately they're still carrying the Los Angeles Gorillas name and branding in some part. But yeah, over 200,000 viewers when you consider Scump, Zuma, the mainstream, and then Gataga stream, a couple of other watch parties, I'm sure, as well. Over 200k. And then the next game, I mean, like, how often have you ever seen an OpTic match be the fourth biggest viewed of the weekend? I understand why Thieves versus FaZe was bigger, just because, you know, OpTic played Boston, OpTic played Cloud9, and obviously this series is a pretty quick one. And then just after that series was, you know, primetime Sunday night, FaZe versus Thieves, absolute banger, potentially determining best team in the game. So I'm not surprised that that game kind of outdid the OpTic matches, but I mean, like, for both the Gentlemates games to be first and second, it was kind of crazy. Now, of course, Gataga is only streaming those games. If Gataga was streaming the other games, then they would also, you know, their viewership would probably be higher, right? So it's like for the Gentlemates games, they just get like a guaranteed extra 60,000 viewers, which is kind of insane. But I understand it, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Gataga's not going to stream like Boston versus like Ravens, respectfully, right? It's understandable. Whereas Scump will, which is why you're not going to see the same bump for OpTic compared to the other games, because Scump's streaming all the games, not just the OpTic games, if you see what I'm saying. But 200k okay for an opening weekend of online COD. Not bad going at all. And I am hoping that Gentlemates come good at some point. I don't know if this roster's going to be the one. But I do think it's possible at some point they come good. Maybe they go deep in a tournament. It's going to be great for COD, I think, in the medium term. So, yeah, excited to see the season get back underway. Here's Dashy, maybe in the Batmobile, taking a lesson out, it seems, of Kenny's book, of course. We saw what he did recently to his GTR with the paint job that he put on it and all this stuff. So lots of guys were talking about this last night. Kenny says, I might be a bad influence. And yeah, the rapping, that's what they call it, right? And I'm in agreement with Kenny in the reply. Is like, you can't mess with this like midnight purple color. That is absolutely fire. So, you know, we'll see. Dashy won the World Championship. He's got some bread to spend. And we'll see if that officially joins at the Arsenal going forward. But speaking of OpTic, of course, the big drama this weekend was in the Cloud9 series. Now, Cloud9 had this both days, as we saw here. Of course, they played Los Angeles Thieves and kind of got clapped by them. It actually wasn't completely embarrassing, but it still wasn't great. And as Attach says, not discrediting them, my issue is there are 6 teams in Texas. We don't have a fair server to play on. So typically, if you're based in LA, as of course Los Angeles Thieves have typically been, they're based in LA, they play on a Denver server over to Texas. I thought it was about time we bring back the Google Maps here. We pretty rarely use the Google Maps on the channel, but, sometimes it can be good to throw it in from time to time. So anyway, here's Dallas, Fort Worth. That's where most of the teams are based nowadays. FaZe is still based out of Atlanta. I think the Florida guys or the Miami guys used to be based out of somewhere near Miami. Of course, Toronto, based out of Toronto, and then some other teams dotted around, of course, Vancouver up here now. And then you have Cloud9 New York, for some reason anyway, based out of LA. I mean, Cloud9 are based out of LA as an organization. They're representing New York, so it's all kind of confusing. But yeah, most of the teams are based in Dallas. So if you are a, let's say, Toronto team playing Dallas, you might play on an Atlanta server, something like that. So the difference is as minimal as you can potentially make it. Typically over the last few years, if you're an LA team, you'll be playing on a Denver server, right? So you're typically playing in Denver, Colorado. They've got a server based out of there, and that tends to have made the games relatively equal as far as possible. It's still not ideal. Playing out of California is just not optimal, and as we've known for years now. But the Denver server has been the middle ground to sometimes make that work reasonably successfully. There's also been the secondary option of playing on the Salt Lake City server, which, again, it's not ideal, but it can be better than playing on a Texas server, for example, because if you're in LA, you're playing a Texas server, or if you're playing on like a Chicago server or something, then like that ain't gonna work very well at all. So there aren't infinite number of servers. The CDL have had some servers around, Colorado, Utah, states like that to try and deal with these problems. But it seems like this most recent weekends, they all ran into a certain number of issues. So this is what Attach was talking about, that there just isn't, apparently the Denver server just doesn't work. And the day before, or a few hours before their OpTic series, Cloud9 were informed that, yeah, once again, they're going to be playing on a server which is not the one that they want to play on. So it's kind of unclear why the CDL can't play on the Denver server right now. Maybe it's broken or something, but effectively he was informed and the team were informed that this was the option. Either you play on this server B situation or you just forfeit the game. And of course OpTic were talking about this as well. The issue for them is they were maybe given the choice, what do you want to play on? Do you want to play on the better ping or the worse ping? Of course, there's also this ping equalization tool that they say that they have, but Shotzzy goes on to imply here in a second that maybe doesn't quite work as well, at least in this game, as maybe it has done previously. It also says that certain servers, even if they would be more equal, just give all sorts of rubber banding, so they're not even playable. So there's a couple of pieces here. Nature, of course, says that it's unfair, but also admits to Cloud9, like, look, we, as in Los Angeles Thieves from Nadeshot's side, were based out of LA over the last couple of years, and it was a disadvantage. This year, they've moved the guys out to Texas, and they're capitalizing on it. Cloud9 could have tried to do the same thing. Now, should Cloud9 be criticized for not moving the team to Texas? Not necessarily, because ideally, you should be able to be based wherever you want, and the CDL will accommodate, because they're the ones putting on the online leagues, so you've got to make it competitive if you're going to do it online and not make everything on LAN, as it used to be. But that's what Nature has to say. This is what Shotzzy has to say.
The CDL is making us play on a combined 140 ping more for this match or forfeit. We're deciding to play through it. There's a server where the pings are even, but not allowed to play on that according to the CDL. I totally understand where Attach is coming from. If I'm a player and I'm playing in these online qualifying matchups for the major, it's super important that we have a fair, competitive environment to compete in. I mean, this guy's playing for his career. His teammates are playing for his career. They're all playing for each other. If there is a problem with the Denver server, the CDL needs to figure that out, because that is the fairest way for a team in LA to compete. And there's a lot of different ways that you can make this argument, depending on what side you're on. Your team is literally called Cloud9 New York, but they're playing out of LA. Listen, if they're on 55 ping and OpTic is on 20 ping, there is a clear advantage to OpTic. But it's an online qualifying match. If they didn't want to have to deal with this, they know that there's 6 teams in Texas. The players should have lobbied and leveraged Cloud9 to have them based out of Texas. Don't know what the LA Thieves players were playing on when they were in LA, because we did years and years of online matches playing out of LA. It sounds like the Denver server was working and functional at that time, so maybe it wasn't that big of a problem, because I don't remember it ever being a point of contention when we were competing in these online matches. But either way, if I'm a player and I'm attached, that guy's been around the league for a long time. That man does not have really a negative bone in his body. So if he's complaining about it and bringing it up on social media, it's obviously a problem, and they feel like they are being wronged and they are being put in an unfair position in this match. To be 2 matches into the season and tweeting about that, for him to kind of label it as like, oh, there's a 160 millisecond combined ping difference, I think that is stretching the truth a little too far, although I understand where he's coming from, and I would feel as if I was put in an unfair position if there's another server that would work better for the matchup to make the teams more even versus what they're playing on now. I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, I think the tweet is a little too far.
What ping were you guys on 20? I wonder if they tweeted at all.
Yeah, so we started at 30 and then we flew to 50. In this game, it's very weird because like I feel like other games they use that tool, right? And then like you spawn in, all right, you're at the ping that they put you at. But in this game, you start at like the regular ping, the ping you're supposed to be on, and then as the game goes on, like when the timer is over, then you slowly get up to like what you're supposed to be.
See, that would.
So we were on 50 ping, but we started as 30 ping. I don't really know if that makes sense. But in a pre-lobby, we were still at 30, like when the timer was going down.
They were saying because they've been bitching about the Denver server because they're in LA and they've been saying they can't play on the Denver server against anyone.
Like for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it's the servers or the game. But bro, when we're streaming, like we're literally like skipping. Like if you look at the minimap, I'm seeing my guy go here to here within like half a second. It's the most weirdest thing because like we played against LA Thieves the other day when our first match yesterday or 2 days ago, and we're rubber banding and we're like, dude, like we're trying to lock in, but dude, we were literally rubber banding every other 5 seconds. So it's like holy shit. Long story short, they wanted to play I think the Salt Lake server or something like that. But we were playing the Salt Lake server like in scrims every single week, and we had this problem last year.
Yeah, we've always had a problem with Salt Lake. Salt Lake.
Like we told prior to the match, like you say, yo, we're like literally like the game is like lagging. We spawned up with Boston, and then Ken literally can't even play because he's running into a wall. He can't even control his character. And prior to this match, we said, yo, this Salt Lake server is messed up. Like, can you guys check it out? And then before the match, we're telling him, like, yo, we obviously want to play, but, dude, we literally cannot play the Salt Lake server because we're lagging. Because their excuse is that they're on, like, 70 ping, which is, like, obviously, like, pretty hits. But I'm like, dude, I'm not playing that laggy server. I'd rather just them put us up at 50, and we're both on 50.
Just hope.
Hopefully, we don't have beef because, like, the only way we played the Salt Lake City server is if we agreed to it. Mm-hmm. But, like, we are not trying to lag.
Yeah, fuck that.
We lag on that server.
Yeah, fuck that. You don't want to play on a lag server.
I don't want them to have...
Well, they do the same thing, man.
LA Thieves was the same issue yesterday. They had the same exact issue, and they didn't play on it. So I don't want some weird beef with anyone. It's just like, bro, I'm just not trying to lag.
So clearly a number of problems here. The conclusion seems to be the league's just got to sort this out ASAP. It's one of those problems where I'm surprised that we're still seeing it. I mean, as I said yesterday, we're year 6 of the CDL now, and the game has also come out like quite a long time ago now, right? So how have we not been able to figure these problems out before now? Surely they should have been doing some sort of testing before the league season begins. And now the league season's begun, the first weekend's a bit of a shambles for LA-based teams such as the Cloud9 New York. So look, OpTic are going to say, well, not our fault. We're just going to play with the cards that we've been dealt. And if Cloud9 are going to get clapped around every week, then the CDL or C9 have got to fix that out. And fair enough, I guess. Enter into your thoughts in the comment section below. Just one final thing. The fantasy updates, I believe, are coming today, as understandably, I think, because the data view is so broken in the game. If you look at the final game scoreboards, or even the in-game scoreboards, it's very rarely actually correct. So to add up all the numbers has taken a lot of work by eazy Mack and the rest of the guys. So as Austin says, yeah, we'll update the scores today, I believe. So if you guys have been waiting on fancy scores and results, then yeah, it's coming soon. But there are various issues that we've got to get through right now because, you know, it's not just the server stuff that is causing problems in Black Ops 6. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.